Good morning, Austin. It is Thursday, November 30th, I believe at this point, day 3 of TRE. Everything is blending together here and starting our day here. None other than Clark Morgan, Don Reichelt from Speedland. Gentlemen, good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Before we get to you, a big thank you to our sponsor, BOA Fit Systems, BOA Technology, based in Denver, Colorado. The best product on the market. Who ties their shoes in 2023? If you're still tying your shoes, you are living in the past. You
Peasant stuff.
Got to get a shoe with some boas, and obviously we've got some here to show our viewing audience, and you're definitely going to want to stick around through this video to see some exciting stuff that Clark is going to reveal. But gentlemen, first, good morning. How are we doing? Give us a sense of your TRE experience here in 2023. Clark, you can start.
Okay, fair enough. Awesome. So nice to be here. I absolutely love this show. I love this industry. I've spent almost a decade coming to this show, and my experience has been different every single time and amazing every single time. And this one, we were talking to so many different groups of people yesterday. It just feels so electric and just on point. People are pumped, stoked to be here. And it's a beautiful thing. It's a huge reunion of people just making great product for athletes, and it's a beautiful place.
Yeah, awesome. Don?
Yeah, this is by far my favorite running event of the year. It is a big family reunion of the industry. You see the athletes that have crushed it all year. You see the brands that have made amazing product and have been working tirelessly to help us get faster. And this is the day that my voice usually starts going out because you're just talking to everybody you haven't seen. I think this is my 10th year coming here.
Is that right?
Yeah. So
wow.
I've worked in the industry for a long time, and now most recently just as an athlete hanging out. And like, it is the best collection of people in the industry all in one spot. It's just special.
Clark and I were just talking about how it seems to be the one trade show still standing amid, a graveyard of a lot that have had a hard time recovering.
It's
from
evolved,
COVID.
Completely evolved. I mean, 10 years ago, it wasn't a completely different show, but you had retail buyers and you had brands, and that was pretty much it. And now it's evolved to more of a media. You have athletes coming, and it's stuck with the times.
Yeah, so cool. All right, Clark, you're the newest member of the Speedland family here. You're actually an employee of the brand. Obviously, people have gotten to know Dave and Kevin over the last couple of years. So maybe introduce yourself to the trail running world a little bit more formally. Tell us what you do for Speedland.
Sure. Yeah. It's an honor to work with them and for this brand for a lot of reasons. I'll go at very high level on a couple of those points, but it kind of goes back to what I was just saying. They have put athletes first in everything that they've done with this product development, and it's a great shoe. I love the fact that I can speak about it as an athlete, but then also in all the way that it was created and just how intentional every part of it's ever been. So it's a really easy thing to talk about, which is pretty cool. My background, I actually worked with BOA for 8 years and just absolutely love that team. It's just so many things about that place. I talk about it as a very positive peer pressure atmosphere. I mean, I started running there, started cycling there, started doing triathlons there. I mean, the trajectory of my life altered for the better just with working with that team.
Wow.
And so
we had dinner with the BOA team last night.
Nice,
awesome people.
Nice. Oh yeah.
Such great people.
No question. So, and to the sort of the joke of who ties their shoes, I mean, at the end of the day, this is the way to create unbelievable footwear in my belief. And I did a lot of prototyping back in the day and working with innovation of the teams, and then had a chance to work as an external facing person to bring running with BOA to the running space. And so that's sort of why, the transition over 10 years of coming to the show is just so dynamic because we were introducing BOA to this group of people 10 years ago. Right. So,
and it seems to have caught on much more in the trail space than in the road space. You're not seeing any of the the big performance brands dropping BOAs on their super shoes yet, but it seems like it's inevitable.
Yeah, I mean, it's totally up to the team.
God, could you imagine one of those road marathon super shoes with a BOA on it?
You actually have
it would
connection
just be
points.
Beautiful.
Yeah. I will leave that to the team. I'm no longer the team, but at the end of the day, it is scientifically proven by their biomechanics lab that a better connection to your platform makes you more efficient. So I'll just
shout out to Dan Feeney.
Dan Feeney.
Real quick before we get to Don and his recent national championship, be a little bit more specific about what you do for the brand now, because you've already made a pretty big impact in just a couple months.
Yeah. Thank you for that. And I'll just say quickly, so after 8 years at BOA, I spent 3 years at Carbitex, which is the brand that we use as the carbon fiber plates in the shoe. So that's a pretty easy way of kind of talking about what I do. So I'm director of brand experience. So really anything that's external facing. Worked on starting an ambassador team, which we've got going, just rad folks that are so stoked on the brand, which is awesome. But also any sort of external event planning. I'm literally going to the airport immediately after this conversation, flying to Arizona. We're sponsoring the McDowell Mountain Frenzy down there with Airbipa. So that's sort of within that as well. Also starting a little bit more of a local backyard vibe in Portland. So group runs and just hanging out with all the folks in the trail culture there, which has been an absolute honor.
Yeah.
I won't go too deep into that, but I absolutely love trail running in Portland.
Yeah.
It is awesome.
So you're sort of the community builder now. For the brand.
Essentially. Yeah,
it's pretty
exactly
great.
Right. Yeah.
Don, dude, you were one of the founding athletes for Speedland a couple years ago.
It's almost 3 years. It'll be 3 years in April.
I know you've become close with the founders, Dave Dombrow and Kevin Fallon. Maybe whatever you want to say about your 3-year history engaging with the brand and seeing how far it's come.
Yeah, it was wild looking back. A little over 3 years ago, we had our first conversation on the phone, and they flew out and stayed at my house up in the middle of nowhere in Fairplay, and they just had like bits and pieces of a shoe, and they sold me on the idea of they're building a brand that is going to be athlete centric, and like my word, your word, Clark's word, like they're going to build it from that. It's not their idea, it's our idea. And they sold me on it, and I'm in. And to this day, they haven't wavered once from that original sales pitch of joining their brand. And it's been so special. If you have an idea, they're a text message away. And they will do anything to make us successful. And I think that's really, really special. We're running for people. We're not running for a brand or some corporation. And that's to this day, it's one of the most special moments of my life is being able to represent Speedland and knowing that Kevin and Dave are like going to text me at the finish line. I love that, man. I love that. Representing people, not a brand. 100%. You were representing some people there at FatOx a couple of weeks ago. We're looking at our USA 24-hour national champ here, Don Reichelt. Tell us a little bit about that experience. It was interesting. I've always considered myself, I don't think I'm a great runner, but I'm a mentally tough runner. I've never thought I was fast, but I just don't slow down like most people do and refuse to be slow mentally. And I was like, man, what a better format to prove that than, last year I did 24 hours on a manual treadmill. And this year I was like, let's send it on a 24-hour national title. And of course, for me, it was the perfect day because it poured rain for like 5 hours, and then it got mid 80s and it was sweltering humid and it just wilted the field. And so those are the conditions I thrive in, because it's like, hey man, throw all the mentally tough stuff at me and I'll be the guy that's still rolling at the end of the day. So I will absolutely, and I'll get goosebumps saying this, maybe a little emotional. I'll never forget the moment that the USATF official walked up to me after the race and said, congratulations, you're a US national champion. Dude, literally, like
Captain America.
To the day I die, that'll be a moment I never forget.
Yeah. Tattoo.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
You mentioned that you're not allowed to wear headphones. So no podcasts, no music, just 24
Freetrail
hours.
pod. Like I was, and this is where I've always had mental strategies. I believe firmly that ultra runners should train mental strength training. As you go out and run 80, 100-mile weeks, you should be doing stuff for your mindset too. So that paid off huge. So I pulled all the arrows out of the quiver for 24 hours running. It was a 0.98 mile loop.
Yeah.
And every 6 hours you get to switch directions. That's about the most exciting thing you get. So there was a lot of mental strategies that I deployed and just to keep moving.
Yeah. Well, maybe just reveal one or two of them if you don't mind.
Yeah. So it's a lot of external stuff for me. So one lap I'm going to dedicate it to like finding all the things that are blue. Next lap, it's like, what's orange? I count birds. I count trees. I literally just anything.
Wow.
How can you focus on anything other than I'm 4 hours in, I got 20 more hours to go.
That's so
it's like, hey, I'm going to see how many rocks I can count. And then 12 hours later, it's like, okay, now I'm going to start naming the rocks. And it was like, hey, Bill, dude, you just kind of just lean into the loopiness of running for 24 hours on a loop.
It is funny. I mean, in a timed format like that, it's so different than when you're running towards some kind of a finish line. And so anything to get you from looking at your watch is probably the strategy.
The watch is your enemy. You do not want to watch it. And then, but at the same time, your only currency is time. Yeah. And so how you spend it is also very important.
Yeah.
So,
and you have to be surgical with your pacing and stuff. So you have to look at it. But anyway. All right. Well, Clark, coming back to you, one of the things that I think is interesting, just that we could all kind of talk about here, is like, the trail part of this show, right? And it seems like it's really, this is my first time in TRE, but it seems like trail as a category has really matured within TRE specifically. And, obviously we're a small brand, right? And at the same time, we're seeing all the big players coming out with, highly technical trail running footwear now. Mm-hmm. Nike, Adidas, Asics, New Balance, et cetera, are all here. What do you think about the industry and category as a whole? And like, where do small brands like ours fit in the broader pie?
Yeah, it's a really big question. I think the first way I would start is that is one of the transitions that has been obvious and intentional at TRE for sure. Big shout out to American Trail Running Association, for example, and their team that have always had a stake in the ground, even if it was like what's now I think called Switchback, and it was sort of Trailhead, and there were different names over the years, but there were times where there was like a stake in the ground in the back of the room that's like, we're going to talk about trail running and like, let's have conversations about it because it's relevant. So there was always a big passion, but I think the globalization of trail running has been a big part of it, that it's really connecting a lot more over these past years. So it truly feels like it's growing, but it's also just growing in intensity, and everybody's just so stoked on it. I've been really excited to be part of a lot of different, brand relationships and shoes that I worked on with great brands to launch in the trail space. And it's just a really articulate need of those athletes. And I think that's what the challenge is. Think about it a little bit like you were talking about, of staying really present. There's so much that trail running requires. And so to build product to those articulate needs, I think is just a really special thing. And it's once people started understanding that if you build great products and athletes can run better and have better experiences, then that's going to grow the sport and it's going to make better experiences for everyone. Yeah. And that's the other piece. Like if you're walking around during the show right now, all across the floor, it's not like localized trail running. It's very much a part of the culture, and in some ways driving the culture in some of the conversations, right? So
it's interesting. Maybe Don, you could chime in on this too, because like in this age where every brand wants to be in trail, you have to be different, right? And it feels like Speedland it stands out amid this morass of brands entering the category. Anything you want to say about that, Don? What makes the shoe special? What makes it differentiated in the market?
Yeah, it's not just copy and paste, right? Everybody's trying to be different, but they're looking to their neighbor to where to start. Yeah. And that's where Kevin and Dave didn't really look to their neighbor. I like to envision them like traveling the world and like, there's picturing what the perfect shoe is when nobody tells you otherwise. And that's what it is. It's the innovation is just creative with Speedland, other than other brands where there's like, oh, here's a design element. And now there's other brands copying Speedland, which, maybe we'll table that for another discussion. But no, it's Speedland's an innovator. We're the front of the class as far as like innovation in trail. And looking back, Clark mentioned this 10 years ago, this was a road running expo and there was no innovation in trail. You had like Solomon and that was just about it. And then Hoka had just been on the scene and they're like, who the heck is this shoe? It's a brick, and nobody knew what it was. And now it's fast forward to today. There's the Speedlands and a 275.
And everybody's trying to be the next Hoka.
Dude, it's like, what is next? And it's exciting. It's really cool because as from the athlete perspective, like maybe you and I are the same age, Debo, I think. And it's like, maybe our careers will go a little bit longer with the innovation with this product that can, maybe take a little wear and tear off my joints here as I approach 40.
Can only hope. Clark, maybe walk us through the product that we have on the table. This is now just going on pre-sale, maybe about a week or 10 days, maybe 2 weeks ago. The GS Oak, the latest commission. Pick it up off the table, show it to this camera, and just kind of give us a quick summary.
Yeah, absolutely. So much like what Don was talking about from the athlete side of things, very much driven by that athlete's vision and their goals as a runner. So huge shout out to Liam, one of our elites on the team. One of his stomping grounds is Mount Diablo in Oakland. And so that's where the oak comes from. And if you watch his video, it's on Instagram, it's on his page, it's on the website, etc. The major pieces that I love about it is he talks about the passion and emotion of running by yourself and everything that comes with that, but he also talks heavily about the community aspect as well. And really tying those two things together is almost yin and yang of something larger and hugely important. So I just love the fact that he was extremely bold with the colorway. We were standing in the lobby downstairs before we walked upstairs, and a guy walks over and he starts asking about our shoes, and he's works for one of the rad retailers here in Austin.
Happens to me all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
When I'm at a coffee shop or something, people come up to me like, what kind of shoes are those?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is like whole
Let's have a seat.
level.
I'll tell you about it.
My wife gets it more than I do. I don't know if I'm not approachable or something, but we'll be walking down the street wearing shoes, and like a stranger will go up to my wife and be like, "Tell me about your shoes."
Well, and you saw me, like, I immediately take my shoe off and pull the midsole out and show them the carbon fiber plate. That's what we do, right? I mean, that's the experience of, if you're going to go out of your way to change the trajectory of your life today to come talk to us about our footwear, we're going to give you that audience and be stoked with you.
Don, you're a Path Projects athlete too, aren't you?
Yeah.
So this is interesting to talk about then, because this is our first foray into collabs. And of course, this is all the rage in sneaker culture at this point in time, and has been for a while. Talk about Path a little bit, and maybe the coming together of these two independent small brands.
It's a small brand out of LA. Same ethos, right? Like really well made stuff for athletes by athletes. Nothing you don't need, and it's just to the point as projects. So it's pretty rad seeing the two components come together of like a purposefully built shoe mixed with very purposefully built apparel. Yeah. And it allows you to run in a kit that's it's everything you need, nothing you don't, and to get the most out of what you want to do.
Yeah. And Clark, you're wearing the tee that goes
Path Project shirt. Yeah. So it has the elevation profile and coordinates of Mount Diablo on the back, which is very cool. So shout
there
out
you go.
To Oakland. For
Mount Diablo, a great place to shred for our viewing audience. So.
I need to get to the Bay Area and run with you
guys.
Yeah,
you do, buddy. Yeah, you do, especially in the wintertime.
Yes, exactly.
Beautiful, beautiful place to be. All right, so we're going to do a quick tease, but for our viewing audience, you can go to runspeedland.com, check out the GS Oak. Pre-sale is open now. We're expecting to do deliveries at the end of December, right around Christmas time. So get yourself a Christmas present, or the runner in your family.
There you go.
Clark, you're going to tease a product that's coming down the line. I don't want to say too much or too little, but I think this is going to be an important thing for the viewing audience to understand what's coming next from the brand.
Absolutely. Yeah. So we literally just texted Dave and Kevin just before this interview just to get their blessing, and they said we can show it. But it is, of course, a prototype that's in testing, and this is the mission that we will be working on with Avery Collins out of Silverton. So this will be the SL SVT right now. You know, a lot of this stuff is kind of working structure, working names, etc. But feeling pretty confident about it. He has been shredding hard in this, and
that shoe
all over the world. He ran Hard Rock in early proto, for example. So definitely crushing. And this is. I
would have run Hard Rock in that if I had it.
Yeah. Well, and it's sort of a combination of the OGSL platform with the GS. It's sort of that happy medium right there in the middle. So very similar tread pattern, same tread pattern, height, lugs, etc. But a little bit different structure, taking some of the learnings from composition and the structure of the GS. So a little bit more cushioning in the midsole, for example, taking some of the weight. You can see some of the voids cutouts on the base as well. But also, yourself included, had gaiters, aftermarket gaiters at Hard Rock. So that idea of essentially building in a gaiter into the shoe itself. And what's really cool about what they've done in a very articulate way with that piece is it's so well designed that they're the pieces that need to be nice and tight and snug, but also pieces that are very tactile and proprioceptive for your foot. So ankle bone, that kind of thing. So no surprise the way that they create everything with intent.
Can I see this thing again?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I just want to emphasize for the viewing audience who's followed Speedland's journey here is that this is the next generation of the SL. So people will remember the SL PDX and the SL HSV. This is going to be the next gen SL, and it's way better, in my opinion. Not to say that those early editions, those early products from Speedland weren't fantastic, but this is an absolutely special product, a little bit more cushioning on it, a little bit lower to the ground, but still a bomber, durable shoe you could run Hard Rock in.
Yeah, and I think that's the sort of operative piece on Better, for example, for me, is it's just a different weapon in the quiver, and it's probably a little bit wider spread for a mileage, for example. For someone who would want to be able to run something like a Hard Rock in this, definitely. But I would say that the OG was that idea of what is the best possible trail runner for any type of trail running, and that was really the intent. I've been doing a ton of racing in HSV, for example, so I'm a big fan of that. But in this case, it's like I said, it's bringing that harmony of both of the aggressive technical aspect of the original SL, but then the longer mileage abilities with the GS. So yeah, it's an amazing weapon for sure. When's the Don commission?
TBD. Well, we're going to do something special.
Okay. Well, we'll have to all get together for that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for coming on the show, previewing the product. It's been fun to at least hang out a little bit here over the last couple of days. Good luck in Arizona. Rep the brand proudly down there with the Air Viper crew.
Always. And
Don, what's next for you?
Fingers crossed on the lotteries this weekend.
Yes.
And then we'll decide. Either way, I need a Hard Rock qualifier this year again. And then I'll do another 24 this year for, I'm gonna make a run at the U.S. World Team in 2025 World Championships for 24
So you
hours.
mean like in the end of 2023, you're doing another 24 hours?
No. Sometime in 24.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. I'm on my off season right now.
Yeah, okay,
my little
good for
window of I had a lot of long races this year.
Well earned, man. When you're a national champ, you should be able to kick back and relax a little bit. All right. Thanks, guys. So appreciate you coming in.
Yeah,
thanks, man.
And also I want to say shout out to the crew.
Yeah.
This has been
Behind
one of
the
my
scenes.
favorite, like the whole idea of listening to Freetrail while I'm out on the trails. That's a real thing.
Appreciate
I just want
you,
to
buddy.
say thanks for everything you're doing here. It's awesome.
Love it. Appreciate that so much.
For sure.